housekeeping. So we're going to kick off our second session with 3 speakers, and these set of presentations are really looking at inclusion, life stories, life histories, and shaping pedagogy. And we've got Beverley Hayward first, Bev, who's going to talk about dyslexic learners and teaching practices. And with no further ado, because we're now on past, I'm going to hand over to Bev. Many thanks, Bev, and she's ready to go.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, I'd just like to thank Sharon and Ian and everyone for this opportunity to quote Lyndon, really, in this safe space, because I really feel that it is a safe space to present, being a dyslexic learner and practitioner, and also from a working class background. So sometimes it is difficult when you've got those intersections to feel safe, to voice, you know, your opinions. And so, yeah, it's great to be here. My presentation, transgenerational dyslexia, trauma and triumph. So the conception of this presentation was brought about, really, I think, from 2 separate incidents, really, that was going on during lockdown. So the first one, I was teaching some study skills to a student who was doing a psychology degree. And we were discussing her essay, and it was about transgenerational trauma. And this topic sat with me for a long time, 2-3 weeks, and I'm thinking, why am I so bothered about this? And then I was also tutoring my niece, Mia, study skills. She was doing a degree at, I think it was Plymouth? No, I can't remember, but she was doing a degree in criminology and sociology, and she was finding it really difficult as well. And she's severely dyslexic. And then this kind of brought up all these memories and issues that I'd had myself as a dyslexic and dyspraxic student. So this was the conception for this. And also in my teaching practice, I have a session at the end of the module where I teach on a master's course at Birkbeck. And I touch upon my own vulnerabilities, and I read a poem in that session, because the hope is that it will put students at ease and have that safe space to learn. So that was the conception of that. I didn't really want to make it all about myself, so I thought, how can I bring in other people? And then it occurred to me that, okay, I'll make it about my family, and then communities of practice, and talk a little bit about my own students and the students that my niece is now teaching as well. So that's how it came about. Okay, so if I get time, I will read the poem at the end, but I really want to make it about the narrative that my niece sent me. So when I was thinking about the research into the presentation, I contacted my niece and said, would you like to give me a narrative on how you feel about your learning practices and how you are as a teacher? And she sent me a really great story. So I'm going to move on to that. And then if I have time, I'll do my poem at the end, but you've all got that as well. So this, I'm a very visual learner. So this is a picture of my mum at the top, and my daughter, Emma, who's also dyslexic, and there I am on the right. And that's in my lounge at home. And as I was thinking about it, practically everyone in my family really has got learning difficulties. And adult ed has always played a part in our lives. So it's been really important to us, because we haven't gone through the usual route of education. So I'm a first generation learner with a degree, and I also have my doctorate, so that's quite unusual in our family. So my mum, who's she was a seamstress and cleaner, so working class. My dad, he's a lorry driver, well, he was a lorry driver and a carpenter. He went to adult ed to learn carpentry. My mum went to adult ed to learn to read, and yeah, and then I was a teacher at adult ed. So it plays a big part in our lives. Yeah, so the way I like to focus on my teaching practice really is to have that safe space where I feel that students can come to me and feel that they can disclose a learning difference or disability, which really wasn't the case at all in my own education and that of my mum's as well. So my mum used to tell me stories where she used to have to stand in the corner with the dunce hat on her head. I had to stand behind my chair and tell everyone how stupid I was. So it did have those elements of trauma, and I think also a little bit of PTSD, because sometimes when I was doing my degree and my master's and people used to ask me to present, I had all these floods of emotion of how I felt when I was a child. So it is quite difficult, I think, when you've come from working class background with a disability. Yeah, so I think really it's only been in the last couple of years that I've, well, maybe a little bit longer, when I felt confident enough to speak about what was going on. So there was clearly this issue of the imposter syndrome with me, and my niece as well. Yeah, so the presentation is really a bit of an autobiographical sort of research project, because I'm hoping to take this a little bit further, but also biographical. So when I was thinking about this particular presentation, I did a little bit of research into what was going on when my mum came out of school. So she left school at 14. She didn't have any qualifications at all. As I said, she couldn't read and write very well. She went to work for a company in Maidstone in Kent, which was called the Len Cabinet Works. And this was a company that it manufactured furniture. So my mum and the women there, they used to make the coverings for chairs and settees and that type of thing. So as you can see the image on the left, that's the sort of chairs that they made. And then the image in the middle is of a Christmas party. It's not, my mum isn't there. These images I found on the local newspaper archive, the Kent Messenger. And then the building on the right, that's actually the Len Works. So it's called the Len because most of the company was actually built right next to the River Len. And then they had the furniture shop where you could go and buy your settees and chairs. That was in the High Street in Maidstone. And I've got just a video link there, but I'm not going to view the video. But it's actually a video of the rag trade. So that was a TV program that most of us probably remember. I was a child at the time, but you can go on there and have a look at it. And it shows where all the women there were had their feet on top of the machines and they're painting their toes and doing their hair. And my mum used to say, oh yeah, we used to go in the toilets and dye our hairs together. So it's a proper community, and she said it was a really nice place to work. Doing a little bit more research into that, and I found out that the company was very progressive at the time and did employ many people with learning differences and disabilities. I had 6 people who were deaf. I had one worker who was blind, and they put like rails up so that he could maneuver in the workspace. So it was really interesting to find that out about where my mum worked, because I didn't really know any of this before I started the research for this conference. So just moving on. So that's my poem that I'll come back to if I have time. So this is the narrative that my niece emailed to me when I told her what I was doing. She's really interested in the conference, and she's hoping that she can use this particular presentation. She's going to use it for the dyslexia awareness month, which is next month, and show it to her students as well. So I'm just going to read out it's only a page and a half, her narrative that she sent to me. So she says, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and dyspraxia in 2014 when I was 14 years old. However, I believe I've had it from a very young age. Through primary school, I really struggled with maths and reading, and my reading age was much lower than it should have been. Yet I was offered no help. As I got older, I taught myself to read. My primary school teachers advised me not to take the 11 plus because I would be very disappointed. And I will never forget that. Instead of putting me down, they could have worked with me and pushed me to try the 11 plus. Therefore, I did not feel included in my primary school at all. I felt stupid and went through a lot of primary school thinking I was just one of those children who was not clever. Then I went to a comprehensive school in 2011. Taking my SATs to get certain sets in secondary school went well. So I was put in the middle set for every subject at the beginning of year 7. However, the teachers soon realised I was not capable of doing middle set schoolwork, so immediately moved me to the bottom set. Again, instead of the school realising that maybe I am struggling because I have a potential learning difficulty, I was just pushed down to the bottom set, and that was where I stayed from years 7 to 11. I was offered no extra help or support until I was in year 9. I got a new English teacher. She was amazing, and she noticed my ability, but could tell that something wasn't right. See, she suggested to me that I might have dyslexia. So she pushed for the school to test me, and they did. I remember doing the test in school. There were so many of us doing it, but the results from the school dyslexia test says I wasn't dyslexic. However, I was getting F and D's in grades in all my subjects. I couldn't spell, I couldn't read well, and I couldn't structure or get my thoughts onto a page without it all being jumbled up. My mum and my auntie, that's me, both said I should be privately tested. The private dyslexia test shows I was severely dyslexic, and I have severe dyscalculia too. My mum took the private test results to my school, and they said we can't offer Mia any support because our tests say she's not dyslexic and there's nothing we can do. So I worked incredibly hard. I taught myself a lot of things, and I pushed myself to prove all the teachers wrong. I sat all my GCSE exams with no extra time or support, and I passed every exam but maths and got amazing grades. Then I pushed myself further and sat 3 A levels, and I passed with more amazing grades, which allowed me to attend university. I graduated uni this summer with a 2-1. However, I couldn't have got through university or achieved a 2-1 without the support of my incredible auntie. She pushed me to achieve my best, and has never given up on me. Like many other teachers have in the past, Beverley is an inspiration to me. Now I work in primary school as a special educational needs, higher level teaching assistant. I get to help support, encourage, teach and inspire children with learning difficulties every day. I love my job. I mostly work with children who have autism in their lives and make sure they get the best educational experience possible. Because learning differences do not define you in a negative way. We can still achieve amazing things, do our dream jobs, and do that with our learning difficulties, because that is part of who we are. I think having dyslexia and dyscalculia has made me who I am today. It has allowed me to push myself more than I thought I could achieve, and things I didn't think I could back in primary school. It has made me more of an empathetic person, because I understand how it feels to struggle in school and feel that you can't do it. But everyone can do it with the correct support and the right people around you. It is possible. The only negative I can say about having dyslexia and dyscalculia was how I was not supported through school. But I do not think it has negatively impacted on me as a person, because it is something of which I am proud of. So that's from my niece. And in terms of adult education, my niece has also had an experience with that. And I was saying that in the breakout room, where she didn't get a maths GCSE because the school wouldn't put in extra time. They didn't recognise her dyslexia. So she failed it 3 times. She was 2 marks off each time, which was like really a shame. So I said to her, I'll go down to the adult ed, because I used to work for the adult ed. I said, oh, you can do your GCSE there, but she couldn't. She couldn't get a place because they were so oversubscribed, and she sat the test and she was so far down the assessment, because you have to do an assessment now as well before you can get a place in adult ed. And she didn't do very well on that, but she's working in the school, and they're going to they're supporting her with her maths GCSE in the school that she's working, and then she can do her teaching qualification. So to me, Mia is an inspiration. We were saying in our breakout room a little bit how dull we were feeling, and kind of our mental health is not that great, possibly coming out of lockdown. But there are inspirational stories out there, and it is a message of hope, I think, from the younger generation, which is really great. So I think I do have enough time to read my poem. So
Yes.
Yeah, let's go back. I'm just going to read it from my sheet. So I wrote this poem a few years ago. And as I said, it's one that I present to my students. I actually do it on the last session, so I'm thinking that maybe it needs to be moved up a little bit, because it's almost like it's a little bit too late in the last session. But anyway, so this is the poem that I wrote. So as a child, I was disabled. Now I'm neurodiverse. Anxiety and stress just make it worse. It was to the remedial hut that we all went, sometimes stammering, stuttering, often silent. At least learning is for life, so time's on my side. But now that illiteracy shame dented my pride. Labelled thick, stupid and slow, can't spell, read, write, feel so low. Please don't pick me to read out loud. Head bowed, humiliated in that crowd. Gaze lowered, sinking down in my seat. The anxiety is palpable, how fast my heart beats. 40 years on, a created force. My head held high, determined on course. Pick me now, I can read, write, speak out loud. I kneel before the master to the applause of the crowd. The nightmare ends, dreams come true. Whether a gift or a curse, the prize is my due. 50 years on, the pretence is over. I can be myself. Learning is lifelong, not just about books on shelves. Who cares if my spelling is poor or if I stumble on a word? Not I, my shame is abated, my voice is heard. Having learnt my knowledge, creation has worth. Joyous is my transformation, my rebirth. So for those that missed out on schooling and learning, do not be deterred. There is hope as an adult returning. That's kind of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bev. That was brilliant, inspirational, and I loved your poem. So personal, so very real. Thank you. That was wonderful.